Please, don't leave me too.
Dad can give me the life you never could.
She didn't scream. She didn't stop him. She just smiled through her tears and watched her only son walk away. For 6 years, he ignored every phone call, every birthday, every message from the woman who sacrificed everything to raise him. Then one ordinary morning, his mother collapsed at work. Before we find out what happened next and how everything led to this moment, I have a small favor to ask. This is my second video, so I'd genuinely love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments how I did and what kind of stories you'd like to see next. And if you'd like to support my journey and help this channel grow, please subscribe. It truly means a lot. It started on a Tuesday, the kind of ordinary day that changes everything. Dae-jung came home from college to find his mother, Shin Hana, sitting at the kitchen table with red swollen eyes and a crumpled tissue in her hand. His father, Jung Ho-jin, stood by the window in his expensive suit, staring out like the family breaking apart behind him was just another business deal gone wrong. "Your father and I are getting a divorce," his mother said quietly, her voice shaking like autumn leaves before they fall. Dae-jung froze, his backpack sliding off his shoulder and hitting the floor with a thud that seemed too loud in the heavy silence. He had seen this coming, honestly. His parents had been living like roommates for years, his father married to his law firm more than to his actual wife. But knowing something is coming and actually hearing it are two completely different things. "This is for the best," his father said without turning around, his voice cold and professional. "Your mother and I want different things in life." "Different things?" Shin Hana's voice cracked. "I wanted a husband who came home for dinner. I wanted a partner who remembered our wedding anniversary. I wanted a father for our son, not a ghost who sleeps here twice a week." Jung Ho-jin finally turned around, and Dae-jung saw something flash in his father's eyes. Not sadness, not regret, just irritation, like his mother was a client who talked too much during meetings. "I gave you everything," Jung Ho-jin said. "A beautiful home, financial security, a comfortable life. What more did you want?" "You," she whispered. "I just wanted you." The silence that followed was so thick you could choke on it. Dae-jung stood there, 20 years old and completely lost, watching his family crumble like a sandcastle at high tide. 3 weeks later, Dae-jung sat in a lawyer's office that smelled like leather and broken promises. The divorce mediator, a woman with glasses that kept sliding down her nose, asked him the question that would define the next 6 years of his life. "Dae-jung, you're an adult now, so the choice is yours. Do you want to live with your mother or your father?" He looked at his mother, sitting there in her simple dress and worn-out shoes. She smiled at him, that sad, hopeful smile that mothers have when they're trying to be brave. She had been a stay-at-home mom for most of his life, only recently getting a job as a cashier at a grocery store. Her apartment, the one she could afford on her salary, was in a neighborhood that had seen better days. Then he looked at his father, confident and powerful in his designer suit, smelling like expensive cologne and success. Jung Ho-jin had already told him about the penthouse downtown, the one with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view that made you feel like you owned the whole city. "You'll have your own room," his father had promised the night before, "bigger than your current one. And that car you wanted, the luxury sedan, consider it yours when you turn 21. You'll want for nothing, son, nothing." His mother had promised something different. "I don't have much," she had said, holding his hands in hers, "but I'll cook your favorite meals every day. We'll have movie nights like we used to. We'll be happy, sweetheart. Love doesn't need a penthouse to grow." But Dae-jung was 20, and 20-year-olds are stupid in ways they don't understand until it's too late. "Dad," he said, not meeting his mother's eyes. "I choose Dad."
I choose Dad.
He heard her breath catch, like she had been punched in the stomach. When he finally looked at her, tears were rolling down her cheeks, but she was still smiling, still trying to be brave for him. "It's okay," she whispered. "It's okay, baby. You do what's best for you." But it wasn't okay. He knew it wasn't okay. He could see her heart breaking right there in that leather-scented office, and he looked away because watching it hurt too much. That weekend, Dae-jung moved into the penthouse, and oh, what a penthouse it was. 47th floor, windows so big it felt like living in the sky, furniture so modern it belonged in magazines. His room was twice the size of his old one, with a bed so comfortable it felt like sleeping on clouds. His father threw him a credit card like it was candy. Reasonable expenses,
Take it and
Jung Ho-jin said. But don't go crazy. Reasonable meant different things to different people.
Take it and go.
To Dae-jung, it meant $600 shoes, $300 dinners, clothes with names he
and
couldn't
go.
pronounce but loved to wear. His friends started calling him lucky, and he loved it, loved the way people looked at him when he walked into a room. His mother called that first week. "How are you settling in?" she asked, her voice trying so hard to sound cheerful. "It's great, Mom," he said, distracted by his reflection in his new mirror, trying on his new jacket. "Really great." "That's wonderful, sweetheart. Maybe you could come visit me this weekend. I'll make your favorite, the kimchi stew you love." He looked at his calendar, at the party his new friends had invited him to. "I can't this weekend, Mom. I have plans. Maybe next time." "Oh, okay. Next time then." Next time became the most used phrase in their relationship. She would call, he would be busy. She would text, he would reply with one word. She would ask to see him, he would have somewhere else to be. His father never encouraged him to visit Shin Hana. In fact, Jung Ho-jin did the opposite, making little comments that planted seeds of shame in Dae-jung's mind. "Your mother's still working at that grocery store?" his father asked one night over takeout sushi. "I think so," Dae-jung answered. Jung Ho-jin shook his head slowly. "She could have done more with her life. I offered to pay for her education, you know, years ago. She chose to stay home instead. Some people just don't have ambition." Those words stuck. They festered. Slowly, insidiously, Dae-jung started seeing his mother through his father's eyes. When his college friends asked about his parents, he talked endlessly about his father, the successful lawyer, the man with connections. His mother became a detail he forgot to mention, an embarrassment he learned to hide. But here's the thing about Dae-jung. He wasn't completely terrible. There were moments, brief flashes, where the good person he used to be showed through. Like the time he was at an expensive restaurant and saw a kid, maybe 8 years old, burst into tears because he had spilled juice all over his mother's white dress. The mother was angry, hissing at the kid about ruining her outfit, and Dae-jung saw the devastation on that boy's face. Without thinking, he got up and walked over. "Excuse me, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I actually bumped your table earlier and made the spill worse. Please, let me pay for the dry cleaning. It's my fault." The lie was obvious, but the mother accepted it gratefully. The little boy looked up at Dae-jung with such relief that it made his chest hurt. As he walked back, he thought about all the times his own mother had taken the blame for things that weren't her fault, just to protect him, and he couldn't even answer her phone calls. Months turned into years. The calls from Shin Hana went from weekly to monthly to occasional. Her texts got shorter. "Thinking of you. Hope you're well. Love you." Messages he read and barely responded to. Notifications of love he swiped away like spam. On his 22nd birthday, she showed up at the penthouse with a homemade cake. The doorman called up, and Dae-jung panicked because he had friends coming over, the kind of friends who didn't have mothers who worked as cashiers. He met her in the lobby. "Surprise," she said, her face lighting up. "I made your favorite cake. I thought maybe we could celebrate together, just for a little bit." He looked at that cake, made with love, brought by a woman who took 2 buses to see him, and felt nothing but annoyance. "Mom, I have people coming over. You should have called first." Her smile faltered. "I did call. You didn't answer." "Well, I'm busy today. It's not a good time." "Oh." She stood there, holding that cake, looking small and out of place in the fancy lobby. "Maybe we could just have one slice together. It won't take long." "Mom, please, I really need to get ready." Something changed in her eyes then, something dimmed, but she nodded, still trying to smile. "Okay. Well, happy birthday, sweetheart. I love you." She handed him the cake and left, her shoulders smaller somehow, her steps slower. He watched her walk out, took the cake upstairs, and his friends devoured it later, without knowing that each bite was made with a mother's breaking heart. He didn't call to thank her. He told himself he would, later. But later never came. By 25, Dae-jung had stopped answering her calls entirely. His father had gotten him a job at a prestigious consulting firm through connections. He had his own office, his own assistant, his own illusion of importance. But late at night, when the penthouse felt too big and too empty, he would see his mother's contact name on his phone and feel something twist in his chest. He never called though. Pride, shame, stubbornness, all of it mixed together into a poison that kept him frozen. Shin Hana never stopped trying. She sent cards on holidays that he never opened. She left voicemails that he never listened to. She showed up at his work once, and he pretended he wasn't there, hiding until security escorted her out. The receptionist had laughed about it later. Some old lady was looking for you. Said she was your mom, but that can't be right. What would your mom be doing working at a grocery store? Dae-jung had laughed too, a hollow sound. Right, definitely not my mom. But she was, and every denial, every ignored call, every unread message was a knife he was sticking in his own heart. What Dae-jung didn't know was what was happening to his mother. The stress of losing her husband and her son was eating her alive from the inside. The long hours at the grocery store, the sleepless nights crying, the constant worry about a son who wouldn't speak to her, all of it was taking a toll. She stopped eating properly because cooking for one felt pointless. She stopped sleeping well because her dreams were full of a little boy who used to hug her tight. Her body started showing signs of trouble, signs she ignored because going to the doctor cost money she didn't have. 6 years passed. Dae-jung was now 26. Then one Wednesday afternoon, his father's assistant called with news that shattered his bubble of indifference. Dae-jung, your father wanted me to inform you that your mother has been hospitalized. She collapsed at work this morning. The words didn't make sense at first. What? Your mother, Shin Hana. She collapsed at the grocery store. She's at Mercy General Hospital. Your father thought you should know. Is she okay? I don't have those details. You'll need to contact the hospital directly. Guilt crashed over him like a tsunami. He grabbed his keys and ran. The drive to Mercy General took 45 minutes that felt like 45 hours. Every red light was torture. Dae-jung gripped the steering wheel, his mind racing with terrible possibilities. What if she dies? What if the last real conversation we had was me being annoyed about a birthday cake? What if she dies thinking I don't love her? He parked illegally and sprinted inside. The hospital smelled like antiseptic and desperation. Shin Hana. He gasped at the reception desk. She was brought in this morning. Where is she? The receptionist typed slowly. Room 317, 3rd floor. He didn't wait. He found the elevator, pressed 3, and waited while the slowest elevator in the world carried him up. Room 317 was at the end of a long hallway. With each step, his heart pounded harder. What would he say? How do you apologize for 6 years of abandonment? He reached the door and looked through the small window. His mother was in the bed, small and fragile, connected to machines and monitors. She looked 20 years older than he remembered. Her hair was more grey than black. Her face was hollow. She had lost so much weight. Dae-jung felt his knees go weak. This was his mother, and he had abandoned her. He was about to push open the door when he heard a voice behind him, warm and musical. You must be Dae-jung. He turned around and forgot how to breathe. The woman standing before him was stunning. She was African, her skin a rich, deep brown that seemed to glow even under the harsh hospital lights. She wore colorful nurse's scrubs in a geometric pattern, and her hair was wrapped in a matching head wrap, but it was her eyes that stopped him. Deep brown, warm, radiating a kindness that felt like sunlight. I'm AC, she said, extending her hand with a smile. AC Mensa. I'm your mother's nurse. Her hand was soft, but her grip was firm. Dae-jung shook it, suddenly aware of how sweaty his palms were. Your mother talks about you all the time, AC continued, and there was something in her voice, not quite accusation, but close. She tells me stories about when you were little. You sounded like a very sweet child. Sounded like past tense. How is she? Dae-jung asked. Ezzy glanced at the chart, then back at him. Her expression shifted. Physically, she's stabilizing. We're treating her diabetes. It went undiagnosed for far too long, and her heart condition. But emotionally, she's been fighting a different kind of illness. The kind that comes from a broken heart. The word stung. This stranger had just called him out without actually saying it. Can I see her? Of course, she's your mother. The way Essie said it, like it was both a fact and a question. She moved past him into the room, and he followed. Essie checked the monitors with practiced efficiency, adjusted the IV drip with gentle hands, smoothed the blankets over Shin Hana with such tenderness that Dae-jung felt something twist in his chest. This stranger was caring for his mother with more love than he had shown her in 6 years. You can sit, Essie said, gesturing to the chair. Talk to her. Even unconscious, people can sometimes hear familiar voices. She started to leave, but paused at the door. When they brought her in, she was unconscious, in so much pain. But you know what she was saying? She was calling for you. Through everything, all she wanted was her son. Then she left, and Dae-jung sat there with his mother and 6 years of regret. He reached out and touched her hand. It was warm, but felt so delicate, like if he squeezed too hard she might break. "Mom," he whispered, his voice cracking. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." She didn't wake up. The monitors kept beeping. And Dae-jung sat there, holding his mother's hand, and cried. Time passed. At some point, Essie came back. She looked surprised to see him still there. "You're still here," she said softly. "I'm not leaving. Not until she wakes up." Essie studied him, then did something unexpected. She pulled up a second chair and sat down. "Then I'll stay too, for a little while." They sat in silence, both watching Shin Hana breathe. "Tell me about her," Dae-jung said suddenly. "About the last few days, please." Essie was quiet, then started talking. She came in Wednesday morning, barely conscious. Her blood sugar was dangerously high. The paramedics said she collapsed at work. Her co-workers said she'd been looking sick for weeks, but refused to take time off. Dae-jung flinched. When she woke up that first day, she was so scared. And then, this broke my heart, she asked if someone had called her son. I said yes, and she said no, don't bother him, he's very busy. Each word was a hammer blow. I told her you'd want to know if your mother was in the hospital, and she said, very quietly, I'm not sure that's true. Essie looked at him. What kind of son makes his mother believe he wouldn't care if she was dying? The worst kind, Dae-jung whispered.